to develop and provide guidance and training to school districts regarding the collection, reporting, and analyzing of such data, requiring the superintendent of public instruction to report to the State Board of Education on trends in the data on the discipline of pupils, requiring the State Board to include an analysis of data on the discipline of pupils in its annual report of the state of public education, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. Legislative Council's Digest. Existing law establishes an automated system of accountability information that records and tracks certain data relating to the education system, including pupil identification numbers and the results of the achievement of pupils. NRS 3858.800. Each school district must report such data to the Department of Education. NRS 3858.810. Section 3 of this bill requires each public school to collect and report data on the discipline of pupils in the public school. Section 3 requires that such data be disaggregated into subgroups of pupils and that each occurrence of suspension and expulsion be listed as a separate offense. Section 3 requires the department to develop and provide guidance to school districts on the collection of data on the discipline of pupils. Section 3 additionally requires the department to establish standard definitions of offenses for which a pupil may be disciplined and any related sanctions. Section 3 further requires the department to provide training and professional development to educational personnel relating to reporting and analyzing data on the discipline of pupils. Existing law prescribes the duties of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. NRS 385.175. Section 1 of this bill requires the superintendent to report on a regular basis to the State Board of Education on trends in the data on the discipline of pupils in the public schools of this state. Existing law also requires the department, in conjunction with the State Board, to submit an annual report regarding the state of public education to certain legislative committees. NRS 385.230. Section 2 of this bill requires the department and State Board to include in such a report certain information relating to data on the discipline of pupils. Explanation. Matter in bolded italics is new. Matter between brackets, omitted material is material to be omitted. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1. NRS 385.175 is hereby amended to read as follows. 385.175. The Superintendent of Public Instruction is the educational leader for the system of K-12 public education in this state. The Superintendent of Public Instruction shall, 80th Session, 2019. 2. 1. Execute, direct or supervise all administrative, technical and procedural activities of the department in accordance with policies prescribed by the State Board. 2. Employ personnel for the positions approved by the State Board and necessary for the efficient operation of the department. 3. Organize the department in a manner which will assure efficient operation and service. 4. Maintain liaison and coordinate activities with other state agencies performing educational functions. 5. Enforce the observance of this title and all other statutes and regulations governing K-12 public education. 6. Request a plan of corrective action from the Board of Trustees of a school district or the governing body of a charter school if the Superintendent of Public Instruction determines that the school district or charter school or any other entity which provides education to a pupil with a disability for a school district or charter school has not complied with a requirement of this title or any other statute or regulation governing K-12 public education. The plan of corrective action must provide a timeline approved by the Superintendent of Public Instruction for compliance with the statute or regulation. 7. Report to the State Board on a regular basis the data on the discipline of pupils and trends in the data on the discipline of pupils collected pursuant to Section 3 of this Act. 8. Perform such other duties as are prescribed by law. Sec. 2. NRS 385.230 is hereby amended to read as follows. 385.2301. The department shall, in conjunction with the state board, prepare an annual report of the state of public education in this state. The report must include, without limitation, an analysis of each annual report of accountability prepared by the state board pursuant to NRS 3858.400, b. an update on the status of K-12 public education in this state, c. a description of the most recent vision and mission statements of the state board and the department, including, without limitation, the progress made by the state board and department in achieving those visions and missions. D. A description of the goals and benchmarks for improving the academic achievement of pupils, which are included in the plan to improve the achievement of pupils required by NRS 385.111. E. A description of any policies, plans, and programs for promoting, extending, and improving career and technical education for pupils. 80th session, 2019. 3F. A description of any significant changes made to the collection, maintenance, or transfer of data concerning pupils by the department, a school district, a sponsor of a charter school or a university school for profoundly gifted pupils. G. Any new data elements, including, without limitation, data about individual pupils and aggregated data about pupils within a defined group, proposed for inclusion in the automated system of accountability information for Nevada established pursuant to NRS 3858.800. H. An analysis of the progress the public schools have made in the previous year toward achieving the goals and benchmarks for improving the academic achievement of pupils. I. An analysis of whether the standards and examinations adopted by the state board adequately prepare pupils for success in post-secondary educational institutions and in career and workforce readiness. J. An analysis of the extent to which school districts and charter schools recruit and retain effective teachers and principals. K. An analysis of the ability of the automated system of accountability information for Nevada established pursuant to NRS 3858.800 to link the achievement of pupils to the performance of the individual teachers assigned to those pupils and to the principals of the schools in which the pupils are enrolled. L. An analysis of the extent to which the lowest performing public schools have improved the academic achievement of pupils enrolled in those schools. M. A summary of the innovative educational programs implemented by public schools which have demonstrated the ability to improve the academic achievement of pupils, including, without limitation, 1. Pupils who are economically disadvantaged, as defined by the state board. 2. Pupils from major racial and ethnic groups, as defined by the state board. 3. Pupils with disabilities. 4. Pupils who are English learners, and 5. Pupils who are migratory children, as defined by the state board, and a description of any plan of corrective action requested by the superintendent of public instruction from the board of trustees of a school district or the governing body of a charter school and the status of that plan, and 80th session, 2019. 4.0. A summary of any measures taken by the superintendent of public instruction pursuant to NRS 388.4354 to ensure compliance with a plan of corrective action or the order of a hearing officer. And P. An analysis of data on the discipline of pupils collected pursuant to Section 3 of this Act, including, without limitation, 1. Trends in the data measuring changes in the discipline of pupils, and 2. Areas identified by the department where the department will provide support to a public school to address trends in the data on the discipline of pupils. 2. In odd-numbered years, the superintendent of public instruction shall present the report prepared pursuant to subsection 1 in person to the governor and each standing committee of the legislature with primary jurisdiction over matters relating to K-12 public education at the beginning of each regular session of the legislature. 3. In even-numbered years, the superintendent of public instruction shall, on or before January 31st, submit a written copy of the report prepared pursuant to subsection 1 to the governor and to the Legislative Committee on Education. Sec. 3. Chapter 385A of NRS is hereby amended by adding thereto a new section to read as follows. 1. Each public school in this state shall collect data on the discipline of pupils. Such data must, A, be reported annually to the department through the automated system of accountability information established pursuant to NRS 3858.800, B, be disaggregated into subgroups of pupils, and C, include occurrences of suspension and expulsion as separate offenses. 2. The department shall, A, develop and provide guidance to each school district in this state on methods and procedures for the collection of data on the discipline of pupils pursuant to subsection 1, B, establish standard definitions of an offense for which a pupil may be disciplined and any related sanctions, and C, provide training and professional development to educational personnel relating to the reporting and analysis of data on the discipline of pupils. Such training must, without limitation, provide educational personnel with the ability to create a report of any data on the discipline of pupils. Interpret the 80th session, 2019. 5 results of such a report and develop a responsive plan of action based on the results of such a report. Sec. 4. This act becomes effective on July 1st, 2019. 2019.
So what it can say about all of that is in America, up to, okay, I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm just trying to go to my desktop. But what I do want to say is good morning, because it's down to the wire, isn't it? The reality is that we, as American citizens, all must pay attention to how the local outcomes are affecting our people, because we don't have an ability to share in regards to, it just hasn't happened. That's what I have to say. And as I'm looking at attempting to understand why they're moving full forward, whatever their plans were, that eliminated our ability to participate in the process is our true reality. As failure has never been an option in public education, yet and still, state policies have oppressed segments of the population, and which to the point where the understanding that we are not making it in 2021. But the real reality is that attempting to discuss the concerns with the local administrative bodies of federal dollars that are coming to Nevada in regards to the people who don't have the same level access. So I'm looking and understanding that the Raiders came here, and Oakland Raiders were, it's like the nation of African Americans. I mean, they played Oakland Raiders and a lot of Black people were on the team. But I got to tell you, in any sport, when they attempt to transition, they want to win to the point they really want to win. But in the moment of glory, they would like to put the white players in who didn't earn all of that. It's not a black and white thing, but it really is as if you start riding the horse, don't get kicked off at the end, so you can't get the prize. And I see the prize for so many of our people is just the ability to navigate this system. But how do you navigate every year when the people who look like you, the people who actually look like you, are not graduating? Actually, they're leaving the educational system prior to even having a level of comprehension that would sustain them. And so the choices that they're making are all based on who they are, what they had the ability to learn, what happened during the time that they were learning. Enough is enough. This is 2021. And the African American community really would like to come to the table to understand the investment. But when you're going to bring the Oakland Raiders here and they're going to Snoop Dogg and all of the major players in the entertainment industry are going to be performing at the new arena, and you know how much money you're going to make off the resale of the halftime show, because we understand money and I understand power, and the power that is in Nevada that eliminates the African American community's voice and sharing concerns in regards to the failed system of public education in America. Well, I'll just say, you better believe that we have never been free, and freedom costs. So all these people who are just recognizing that perhaps there is a cost to freedom, African Americans have always known there was always a cost to freedom. So the word is e-purpose, out of many, there is one, but out of the one, there will be none if we pledge all of our allegiance to one person. And just understand, we went through a nightmare when Donald Trump was in office. And I want to tell you why I see it was a nightmare. Because in the end, what are we finding out? That he allowed unlimited drilling, and now there are earthquakes and sinkholes and potholes. And then we forget to understand that we live under one core, Earth. And when you saw William Shatner go up in the balloon, he said, the thin layer of blue, it was just a magic. It allowed his imagination to just go in so many different places, but understanding that the thin layer of blue is protecting all human beings around this planet. Just a thin layer, and you're up through it so quick, and then there's just blackness. Well, blackness is happening for the American people as they are waking up and finding out that perhaps they've never been free, but Black people have always known, or African American people have always known where they stand. And that is a reality. So how failures actually happen, we all just need to understand that this is America. And we are the people. And our voices are demanding to be heard. It was a struggle going through George Floyd's case publicly, hearing him beg for his mother. And as the mother of a 36, a 35, and a 24-year-old, I will say I understand, as he begged for his life and feared every day, could it happen to my son? And that is a reality. But I've taught my sons to be polite and follow commands. Do you understand follow commands? Because Black people understand compliance, where white people will not comply. They're just not going to comply to the mask mandate, even though if they all just chose to wear the mask, perhaps we could beat this virus in a couple of weeks, real short like now. But oh no, those people don't want to do what they want to do. They want to do what they want to do, and they just want to do what they want to do. And just like when I could not imagine putting $8 million into the Donor's Choice Program for teachers and local community members, or even teachers to write, to say what they need for their class. Well, I just want to say, under special education, a DEA, every school should have a resource specialist, and the resource specialist should be working in contingency with the group of parents and administrators and teachers who are working to analyze the data to see what's working or what's not working. But when you look at the system, well, those people who do SOT teams, they're not school site council people. I mean, they don't deal with the data. And then there is no data to talk about, really, because they don't have a grading policy established. So I would never have the ability to look at how many third graders across this Clark County School District were reading at or above the 50th percentile. But do you notice that earlier in the video, it talked about the number of children and the disaggregated data that is required that the local district provide to the state? Well, here we are in 2021, and people believe that we don't have a right to discuss this data. And when in Clark County, this is 2021 now, They're saying that they have to establish an anti-racism policy. Are you serious? No, you don't need to establish that. You need to terminate people who would violate the process or the civil rights of the people, because there has been an anti-racism policy established across this nation in America. And it is just what it is. We are Americans also. And I am free to criticize or critique what I see. But what I don't understand, how failure has just been so acceptable. And there are so many kids that are not proficient, and we know they're not proficient. So what we don't know is what their actual grade level, its student ability or achievement, but the requirements to receive this money. We understand what the requirements are, but I'm going to have the computer read the comparability model and the maintenance of effort of Title I, Part A, in the transition of Every Child Succeed Act, of course, and the requirements for states to provide data to the community so that they can really be engaged and help to oversee the outcomes of the local maintenance, which would be the local maintenance effort would be employment after 12 years of public education. But when you can stand up in the middle of a meeting and talk about those people need to do what they just need to do and get a job, really? Well, what about the job that's done on our people when they come out of public education after 12 years of the mandatory compulsory law in which their parents were held strictly accountable for showing up, and the children showed up and got a letter grade of F, and these people still paid themselves? Can you imagine that? Imagine that. And imagine that they go on holiday or on vacation every year, 3 months of the year, and they still get paid. For the children who are generating the federal dollars, which would be poverty, bilingual, students with disabilities, student with behavioral issues, all included, homeless students. And people don't even understand why the homeless students and the people with disability are all included in the federal funding. No, people who are supposedly creating a pathway don't understand what the process really was. So I really had to share. It's important to share information and knowledge. And in America, the reality of understanding who you are to ensure access and viability of the people who look like you. As in America, the word is e pluribus unum. Out of many, there's one, but out of one, there will be none. And the reality of in 2021, who will you be? This is Darlene Anderson saying like, subscribe, and follow me on my podcast on Anchor, Parent Empowerment Hour.